Hi there. Welcome to the Universal Key to Meditation. I'm Jonathan Pritchard, and before we get started, I just want to cover what the goal is of why I put this whole thing together. And if you already have a meditation practice, or you're thinking about it, or you've never even considered it before downloading this, I want to give you the clearest, most concise explanation of what meditation is, how it works, and how you can use it to improve your life. Hopefully this will help you avoid years of frustration and looking for any kind of meditation practice that actually does something for you. So after this, if you find somebody who can't answer any questions or explain it in this way, you'll know that you're working with somebody that you don't need to spend your time with. But let's back up. I want to look at what in the world is, what is the use of meditation anyways, right? Because it seems like there's always some sort of wishy-washy, touchy-feely explanation of meditation that involves imagining bliss or nirvana or the universe of warm energy blessing your seventh chakra, right? Just stuff like that. I mean, meditation is so wrapped up in pseudoscientific confusion, cultural baggage, religious trappings, or just plain wrong information that it's a wonder that meditation is still around in the first place. But it can have a drastically positive effect on your life, even if you're a take-no-prisoners warrior, and especially if you're a take-no-prisoners warrior. So let's look at how to think about meditation's usefulness. So let's look here at a map. Now, how do you use a map? Well, first thing, you have to make sure it's a map of the area you're trying to navigate in. If you have the wrong map for the territory, you're going to get lost no matter how much you try to make it fit, no matter how much you try to pay attention to the map. If it's not for the right place, you're not going to get very far. So if you're trying to apply the wrong lessons to the wrong context or the wrong experience, you're going to have a bad time. Now, once you're sure you have the right map, you have to what? Well, figure out where you are. Then you can orient yourself properly and make sure you're facing in the right direction. You've got the map pointed north, you're facing north, everything is in alignment. And then you can pick out the location of where you want to be. Now, only after those things are properly figured out can you then plot a course to get you from where you are to where you want to be. So, the role of this lesson is to provide you with an effective map that you can use to find your way in the world of meditation, whether you want to do Zazen, guided meditation, no matter what your tradition, this process is at the heart of all effective strategies. Because meditation is a systematic approach and technology for improving your quality of life. Now, how does it do that? Well, it does it as a function of two things. A function is first an activity or a purpose natural to or intended for a person or thing. Like bridges perform the function of providing access across water, right? It's its purpose, it's its task, it's its role for being, its reason for existing. What function does it serve? But also, function is a relationship or expression, an emergent behavior or result involving one or more variables. The function of bx plus c, right? The interplay of more than one variable or input or context or dynamic. It's always a result as a function of how other things interact. Which means that a function can be plotted on a graph that looks like this, but before we get there, let me ask you a question. if you wanted to reflect on the nature of being or how the world works, how you work, which would you rather use? A dirty, dusty, covered up mirror, or one that's perfectly clean, smooth, and free of any sort of blemishes? The clean one, right? So let's put it another way. If you wanted to talk about the quality of reflection, would you have a better time seeing images in this water, right? Notice how it's incredibly still. There's very little distortion between the scenery and the water's reflection. It looks like the world just got turned upside down and it's right there perfectly reflected in the water. Very, very little distortion between what is and what the image on the water is. Now compare this to the image of this water. Now, what kind of reflection can you see here? Right? You've got kind of the blue of the sky, but really there's nothing that you could see. If there were anything above it, you might be able to see its shadow on the water, but not really a clear reflection. So, when you're trying to reflect on the nature of what it means to be alive and understand how you work, you want as an accurate a map as possible. You want a very clear reflection. Now, you can only get a high level of detail when there's very little distortion, when things aren't choppy, or which is to say, when you are more calm. So that's the first function of meditation, to calm you the hell down. Now, being in control of your internal and external state enables you to make better choices, be less likely to allow a person or an external situation to pull you off balance by stoking your anger or other volatile emotions. So, on the left side is a representation of someone who has zero chill. They're agitated, they're upset, they're very much not calm. Now, the quality of their mind's image of reality is going to be greatly distorted. They're not going to see things as they are. They're going to see things as their current turbulence shows them to be, which is massively distorted. On the right would be somebody who is much more calm, and that's what you want. Smooth, clear, not agitated, reflective. So think of this as the first axis, the horizontal axis of meditation, calmness. More towards the right is good, towards the left, not so good. Now, I'd like to introduce you to the second consideration with this supercut of movie scenes that are all centered around a common theme.
That inbred, antiquated old cow, the only way she could stop me is if she sat on me with her big, fat, royal bottom. She's behind me, isn't she?
Brady Sachs? Who cares? That's what I said. He's right behind me, isn't he?
You got the substitute, Prokopi.
The creepy, hairy, creepy guy? He's right behind me, isn't he?
Nick and I got on this cruise by mistake. And then I met this girl, and she assumed I was gay. And then I stupidly went along with it because... She's behind me, isn't she?
Yeah, with that temper of hers, she's certainly capable. Remember that one time Walcott shot that guy?
What? She's behind me, isn't she?
Oh!
He's right behind me, isn't he?
Not really my color, is it?
That pencil-pushing scazwag. Why, if she were here, I'd... Oh, is she behind me?
No, I'm in front of you.
Gibbs probably isn't too far behind. Standing right behind me, isn't he? Sorry about that, boss.
The fossil himself. He's right behind me, isn't he?
I mean, he's lost. His lost soul. He's a dented can. He's behind me, isn't he?
Seems your hunch was right, 007. It's too bad the evil queen of numbers wouldn't let you play it.
You were saying?
Why are you so afraid of that pathetic tub of lard?
Tell her I'm out.
I did. She said she'd wait.
Good. Tell her I'm out of town.
Welcome back.
Ow! 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 You been here long?
If he honestly thinks that the environmental community is going to whistle a happy tune while rallying support around this pitifully lame mockery of environmental leadership just because he's a nice guy and he's done better than his predecessors, then your boss is the chief executive of Fantasyland.
Let's take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Son of a bitch doesn't answer. He's right behind me, isn't he?
Where's Lino?
He's right behind me, isn't he?
Diana's a remarkable woman. She's a valued friend. She's standing right behind me, isn't she?
This place is not haunted by a ghost, and when the sun comes up, Donkey will be the new king of this right behind me, isn't it?
Like there's a ghost right behind me, isn't there?
What did all of those scenes have in common? They were all unaware of what was going on behind them. They had no clue what the reality of the situation was. So in this way, we can see that the common saying of what you don't know won't hurt you is dead wrong. The more unaware you are, the greater chance of you messing things up. And my money is on most people being totally unaware of how their mind works, how their life works, how their friends work, how strangers work. They're stumbling around in the dark and wondering why they keep tripping off cliffs. It's a tough way to go through life. So the second axis, the vertical axis, is awareness. So when you put these two things together, you get this. There are several places you can be on this map. Now, you can be neither calm nor aware, and this is a tough spot to be in. You're freaked out, agitated, nervous, and you have no clue what fresh hell is coming for you. Or you can be incredibly calm, but still have no idea what's going on inside or out. Conversely, you can be fully aware of the situation, but have no way of not freaking out about it. There's turbulence and anxiety out the wazoo. Lastly, there's the ideal state, fully aware of reality and being able to see it calmly. This is the positive side of things, and there is a negative. This is where others can deceive you. You can deceive yourself. This is the world of chaos, of having no clue of what's happening, nor any idea of how to get out of it. In terms of calmness, you might be in intense physical pain. You just broke your leg. Nothing is calm. Right? You're having an intense physiological response. You're in blinding pain. You're unaware, and it can get really bad. Now, if you're in that kind of situation, you're not going to find your bliss. You're going to be in a lot of trouble. This is where pharmaceuticals come in handy, medications, substances that directly affect your physiology and calms you down long enough to get a handle on the situation. The danger here is relying solely on those external methods for dealing with long-term solutions without taking the reprieve they give you as an opportunity to do your own internal work. Now that we know the two variables that can affect the quality of your life, awareness and calmness, and how to plot them on a map, we know how to quantify them. We can measure them in a meaningful way. But we now run into a peculiar directionality language problem. Now, are we reaching higher levels of mastery, or are we going into deeper levels of understanding? Well, I tend to prefer higher, because we'll be going into more and more abstract territory, which is usually thought of as up, but neither higher nor deeper is quite exactly right, because we're not going anywhere really, but there is a change happening. Now, this is why I like to say that we are gaining clarity. After this, you'll be able to discern so much more detail of how your life works with this process. Now, it's remarkable, really, how effective you can be once you can resolve more detail than you were able to previously. So, what are these higher levels of understanding that we will reach by cultivating calmness and awareness? Well, PEMDAS. This is the proper order of operations for mathematical equations. When you have a whole mess of calculations to perform and you do them out of the right order, you're going to get the wrong result. You have to start with the parenthesis, then deal with the exponents, then multiply, divide, add, and finally subtract what's left. In this sequence, every time, everywhere, you'll get the right answer. Now, the same goes for the meditation process. If you try to skip ahead, you're going to get the wrong result. Now, the first concern, the foundational level, what is the primary consideration? Physical. You absolutely must be able to learn how to calm your body and be aware of it. You have to live as your body, not just feel like a visitor pulling the strings on some meat puppet. You have to completely integrate into your being. This is the foundational layer. You can point to it, you can feel it, it's direct existence. That's why this is the first one. If you ignore this level, nothing else built on top of it is going to have a sturdy foundation. It's all going to be built on wishing. So, down here, most people start in the very unaware and very not calm body. If you've got nervous tics, you bounce your foot all the time, bounce your leg, you're not even aware of the things that you're doing, you're very clumsy. You can then be more aware of things happening, but you have no ability to calm it down. Or you can be calm, your body can be calm, but you're unaware of a huge problem, like having a sickness that is directly affecting your health and wellness. So the idea is to be able to be aware of your body, live in your body, be able to control it, to calm it down, and be still with it. And that is how you get to the upper right-hand corner of the physical level. When you get to the upper right-hand corner of the physical level, that you're fully aware of your body and you can maintain a sense of calm with it, you're now going to be at the start of the next level. So here, notice how the body dimension kind of shrank down and away to the lower left, and the upper right-hand corner of the body level becomes the neutral starting point for the second level, which is the mind. Now, many people are unaware of how their mind works. They don't know how it functions, and they're swept away by the powerful waves of emotions and mental formations that they call ideas. They put their imaginations to use, dreaming up calamities that never happen, and spend most of their lives suffering things that never did happen. Now, that to me is a very poor use of their mind, which they're not aware of how it works, and it's not a calm existence if you're constantly being buffeted by fears and anxiety and ideas that never are real. So, you could be more calm, but again, if you're not aware of how your mind works, you're going to constantly be struggling to maintain that calm state. So here's a quick sidebar of how the mind works from a professional mentalist, that's me, I've made my living convincing people I can read minds because I've spent my life studying how the mind works. So, the mind has 4 modes or capabilities that are appropriate for different situations. The first is the imagination. This is the most abstract level, and this is where your prefrontal cortex is free to use previous experience as a theoretical model of how the future can be expected to turn out and then run a simulation of what it thinks will happen. This is where non-logical associations are made when you're tired and the logic reasoning layer of your mind is allowed to take a break. The second is the considering mind. This is for when you're doing heavy computing. You're considering your options. You're working on a difficult math problem. This is the heavy thinking role of the mind. If I said multiply 64 times 32 and you really sat down and worked through it, this is the consideration part of your mind. The third level is attention. This is what you're noticing, what you're aware of, what you're giving preference over all else. See, our mental processes aren't really designed to capture information. That would be too much for us to be aware of. We'd basically have seizures if we were constantly aware of everything we could possibly be aware of. Instead, we work the opposite way. Our perceptual systems, they actively filter out what we have deemed to be irrelevant. Only that which we think is important on a pre-conscious way is allowed through to our conscious awareness. For example, if you're at a cocktail party and the room is pretty loud, it's hard to hear what the person right in front of you is saying over all the noise. But suddenly your head snaps around because somebody way across the room said your name at a normal volume. You're hearing everything, but your attention fixates only on the relevant information that you've deemed to be valuable as a function of your belief system and previous experience showing you what is worth paying attention to. Lastly is awareness. This is the silent witness to your existence. It doesn't judge, it doesn't prefer, it just is. When you're asleep, the conscious part of you is not there, but there's still something that is aware of every noise in the night, ready to bring you back online if deemed necessary. This is awareness, perfect, calm, fundamental awareness. And your awareness sweeps across the inner landscape of your emotions about 4 times a second, checking in on the 5 emotional domains. The first is anger. Anger starts at the level of annoyance, as barely annoyed, barely perceptible as being annoyed, and then goes all the way up to 11 to fury. So think of each of these 5 things as a spectrum of experience, starting at the very lowest, barely aware of it level, all the way up to all-consuming. So the second is fear. And it starts at trepidation at its lowest and then goes all the way up to terror at its highest. The third is disgust, which goes from mild dislike to loathing and revulsion. The fourth is sadness, which starts at disappointment and goes to anguish. The fifth is enjoyment, which goes from mild pleasure to ecstasy. Now, if you think about it, and I have, you'll notice we have a 4-to-1 ratio of negative or aversion emotions to our 1 positive or attraction emotion. No wonder so many people are so pessimistic all the time. But with work, you can remain calm as you become more aware of the swirl of emotions inside your mind. You'll see them as clouds in the sky, there for a while, and soon to move on and dissipate into nothing, yet the sky itself remains untouched. And there you have it, the quickest, most succinct, complete encapsulation of everything that your mind can do on one slide. Thousands of years of human progress to bring us to this moment. Now, once you can practice being aware of your internal mental state without letting it goad you into action, you can remain calm, which brings you into the upper right quadrant of the mind. And that means you're ready to move to the third level. Your breath. It's an autonomic nervous system function, so you're not typically aware of it. It runs on autopilot, which means it's usually on default mode of shallow, only as much as you need level, and can you really take a deep breath? Right? Because most people can't. Plus, they allow its cadence to be erratic. They're working so hard that their breath is all over the place, not calm. Now, you can hear the air whistling in through their nose, not a smooth, silent, natural process at all. Now, this is the realm of Qigong breathing exercise and where they really come in handy. Now, once you get your body's alignment and positioning correct by opening all the joints and resting naturally without tension, which calms your body level, then your mind can calm itself and then rest its awareness on the breath. That will result in greater calming, which will get you in place in the upper right-hand quadrant, which is where you want to be. We're in the fourth and final level, the most abstract, the most difficult to point to, the most difficult to appreciate, and the most difficult to talk about because it is beyond the scope of words. It's the realm of energy. Potential, kinetic, the razor's edge between the two is where the universe lives. Now, the many potentials that your body, mind, and breath could make made manifest in the universe. Your energy reserves, your intention, your movement, your vibe, your all-over mojo, whatever you want to say it as. It's so subtle, nuanced, and unknown to most people that it sounds like made-up imaginary woo to people who literally run off electrical impulses propagating through their saltwater-filled meat bags that they call bodies. So it's safe to say they're unaware of their own energy, which means they don't know how to calm it down either. Now, most people have zero control of their energy. They share it with anyone and everyone. They have no boundaries. They freely invite anybody's energy into their life with no awareness of the repercussions of doing so. But when people talk about energy and haven't done the step-by-step work on the body, then the mind, then the breath levels, their energy awareness and calmness are entirely lacking. They're speculating. They literally don't know what they're talking about because their understanding is built off fantasy, not reality. As the most abstract level, it's the most difficult to appreciate, but it's still bounded by reality and the physical nature of being. So that's why it's handy to think of this multi-layer axis map that we've worked through, starting with the body, and then the mind, and the breath, and finally energy. That's why it's handy to think of it as this shape instead, or in addition to. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of meditation. You can't skip ahead. You can't go straight from the body to energy. You have to go step by step up the pyramid of awareness and calm. This is how you gain clarity in your life. This is how you can reflect on the true nature of your intentions, your decisions, and your possibilities. This isn't just leaving it up to imagination, or wishing, or praying, or putting it out into the universe, and whatever it decides to do with it is all right by me. No, this is the nuts and bolts way, the nuts and bolts process of going 1, 2, 3, 4 to gain insight into the reality of being alive. I don't care what tradition you prefer, but it absolutely must follow this process of developing your self-awareness and inner-outer calm. Now for me, This has been through the tradition of Kung Fu, martial arts. It's an intensely physical practice that challenges you mentally and helps you regulate your breathing and manage your energy in a very direct manner. But you know what? It's that simple. That's what meditation is for. Whatever tradition or process that is most resonating for you, go for it, but don't skip steps. Now, if you're already capable on the physical level and want to know more about how your mind works, that's why I wrote the book Think Like a Mind Reader. It basically condenses a lifetime's worth of study, experience, and lessons learned the hard way condensed into a single volume. This is lessons learned from the road and on stage of being a mentalist, which is basically convincing people that I can read their minds. The only way that I could do that is by understanding how the mind works, its fundamental processes, and then putting those processes to work for my own benefit. In the context of a magic show, that's a wonderful thing. But in the context of negotiations or sales processes, being lied to or being or allowing yourself to be led astray is not good. So once you understand how your mind works, you can put it to work for yourself and identify when other people are trying to hijack it for their benefit. Or if you do want to start on the physical level and give Kung Fu a try, I've been practicing Kung Fu every day for about the past 8-9 years, and I share my life lessons as learned from doing Wing Chun Kung Fu, which is basically the flavor Kung Fu that Bruce Lee learned to be Bruce Lee. And if you're interested in trying it out, we have virtual training opportunities available, and it's a complement of video courses with weekly live one-on-one Skype calls where you get immediate feedback to catapult your progress. Now, if you're interested in the other irons and other fires that I have going on the body, mind, breath, and energy levels, you can find me at jonathanpritchard.guide or on Twitter at @the_Pritchard, where you can basically use that as a hub to find me on every other platform. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me. Shoot me an email. You can do that on any one of the sites that I just mentioned. You can tag me on Twitter, anywhere. Just reach out, and I desperately want to be of service to you.